Welcome to Mac and Bleu, the cutting-edge podcast for the nation's builders, merging the realms of construction with exciting advancements in technology. Join us on a thrilling journey where we delve into the dynamic world of blockchain, AI, the metaverse, virtual and augmented reality, and their transformative impact on the industry. Our engaging discussions span a wide spectrum, covering not only construction, economic development, supply chain, and market segments, but also exploring the vibrant tapestry of diversity within the construction landscape. We shed light on the intersection of local politics and its profound influence on the construction sector, while championing the remarkable contributions of women and minorities in construction. For all things Mac and Bleu, head to www.macandbleu.com, and don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. I'm your host, JJ Levinsky. Now let's get into it. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Mac and Bleu. I'm your host, JJ Levinsky, CEO and co-founder of Bleu. We're lucky enough to have Ville Houttu on, and yes, he's Finnish and proud of it, and he looks the part. We'll get into it in a little bit, but just really excited to have him on. I was, much like I always do, I think I came across you and your profile probably on some feature article or some sort of digital thing about you. He's the co-founder and CEO of Privv, but he's also got a much more interesting background, and we'll get into it in a minute. But you know, he's been on TEDx as a speaker. Like I said, originally from Finland, career and serial entrepreneur, and we'll talk a little bit about some of the other companies he's been involved with because the guy's just damn successful. So welcome, Ville.
Thank you.
All right. So everyone's always intrigued by the foreigner and the rags to riches story.
Right.
So be a little humble. Go back to like, what happened in Finland? How'd you come to the States? All that kind of fun stuff.
Yeah, it was quite a ride, you know. So the previous company in Finland I joined, maybe 70, 90 employees. We take it public at 350 in 2016. So we had a fast growth, and that was a services agency. And
so what was that business based on then?
Software agency. So we built mobile apps and web systems for companies. And
was it across the world or just for Europe?
For Europe, and you could say only in Finland at a time.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So our client base was Finnish-based, and I took a job to take it international.
Yeah.
And my wife happens to hate the cold,
She's Spanish?
She is, although she grew up in Jordan. So So there's that.
So hopefully she's got the nicer skin.
Well, we all are here. But anyways, yeah, that's sort of how we started looking at warmer climate. And I ended up taking the company to Palo Alto, Bay Area, California, because that's the only place people in Europe tend to know when it comes to tech, startups, and so on. So no employees, no clients, nothing at a time. So I brought it here, and it took off. And, you know, I came here for a year, 1 year to launch it, and that's 7.5 years ago. So it went real fast. But yeah, last April when I exited, we had about 50 or 60 employees and 8 figures.
Thank you for the summary. Let's go back and unpeel that onion a little bit. You're an electrical engineer by background?
Correct.
Okay, so I should have asked that first. I think a lot of people don't even know, one of the questions I want to ask you is, what was it like getting a work visa to get here in the first place? Were you given almost preferential treatment because of your tech background and what you were bringing to the States?
No, I wouldn't say that.
Okay.
And it's a whole system to navigate.
Okay.
And you want to have someone who knows it really well. So I happened to find a good immigration attorney who worked with me, and actually many other Finnish people who relocated after me.
Oh.
And there are, I want to say there are at least 100 different types of visas. Could be 150 around there. So there are a lot of different ways. And I do have to say, I really like the way it's being set up, because I got my first visa for a year. And I had an opportunity to renew only if I was able to generate revenue and hire employees and pay tax.
Of course. You said the operative word, pay tax.
Yeah, but that's kind of how the system works.
Yeah.
So you don't just come here and well, my plan was to train for triathlons, and so you don't do that for a year with the work visa. If you are here to create a company, you'll create a company and jobs.
Right.
And that's it was a additional driver, which eventually took us where we ended up to.
And you said it, but you said it kind of quickly, and I want to go back so the audience knows. When you came to Palo Alto, what was the goal with that company? What did you want to sell it, or were you looking to grow it, or were you just looking for capital? What did that whole ecosystem look like in your brain?
That's a great question. So the initial idea was to find and land clients. And,
so just customer base.
Customer base. And while I was traveling here on and off to open bank accounts at a time, by the way, 8 years ago, you had to travel and be there in person to open a bank account. So you don't have to do that anymore. But while I was doing that, I met everyone I knew or got introduced to, and one of them was Logitech at a time, and they happened to be our first client. So it's very interestingly, we didn't make any loss at any time of the duration of the years I was with the company. So because it's income based when you are in the agency or an agency, so you're billing your time. Anyways, really interesting story where coming from Europe, you'd think you have to invest a lot of money into going international, especially the United States, where you actually don't. So you can bootstrap and you can go far without
That's interesting.
a lot of initial investment.
If I can interrupt you on the Logitech, what specific, can you talk about it, or is it secret?
Sure.
What were you actually doing for them?
We were helping them to build their mobile apps and also worked with their video conferencing products.
Oh, that helps put it in context.
Yeah. But it's work for hire type of services business. And
so now you've been here for a while, back to how you started this. Then help me understand, or help the audience understand, then what precipitated you exiting versus just keep growing it? Was it just an offer you couldn't refuse, or was it change in market conditions, or
I think there are just different people who start and ramp up companies, and then there are people who scale companies. Yeah. And typically these are different type of people or different people. So I just love the first couple of years, the first months, hiring your first 10 employees and all that sense of urgency, and so I'm that drives me, and that's why.
Okay. So talk to me about what. Well, let's go again. I'm trying to paint a picture for the audience. So before we get to Privv, talk to me about how or why you were asked to be on TEDx, and then what was that whole thing about?
Oh yeah, that venture actually took 9 months. So many people think that I'll apply to TEDx and it's happening 2 months from now or a month from now. No, it's more like a year or 9 months. Preparation. They will assign a coach that you will work with, and you'll have even the recording or the live session takes 3 days.
3 days.
It's not just one event. So you go. So it's a whole ordeal, and I've done some public speaking previously and participated some speaker contests that I happened to do really well, despite my accent. So I always find it funny, but. That took me to TEDx. I think I was invited by the host in Youngstown, Ohio.
Oh, really?
And so that's where I did mine. And he heard about this idea I had. So I used to make every employee a CEO for a day. And every month we would make one employee CEO, and he or she could make one decision to make the workplace better. whatever that was, and unlimited budget.
Got it.
So, and that was the topic I wanted to share, that idea, because it worked really well for us. And when you Google it, it's interesting. Many companies are doing it today, so I'm really proud of it.
You were the originator?
Yeah. We started doing that first. Yeah.
So by the way, I have seen some of the outtakes of that. I'm curious, after that, what happened to you personally? Like, did a lot of people reach out to you because of the TEDx experience and then ask you to be involved in anything, or how did it change your life, or didn't it?
I don't think it did a lot.
Okay.
Change my life or myself, because it goes back to belonging. Like where do you belong? Whether you belong to a workplace or in front of an audience, and in fact, if you belong to yourself, you're good, and there's nothing like a lot of external things can't change that. But obviously, yeah, a good marketing event. A lot of people know or have seen my talk. When you hire employees, they've seen your talk, and so that it reflects your personality and your way of thinking about things. So there's that, but I do it again. Yeah, it's absolutely a great experience. I recommend it.
So talk to me about what is Privv, and how did it start in your mind?
Oh yeah, so we talked about my exit last spring.
Yeah.
And we all, like a lot of startups listening, we're thinking about 5 years ahead, 6 years ahead. Okay, when I exit, I'm not going to do anything. So I'll take a long sabbatical. I'll sail or camp or whatever you want to do. Well, that lasted 2 months for me. I was like, and
then your wife yelled at you.
No, so it's actually the opposite. Oh. So my wife is a teacher. And the kids go to school, my wife goes to school, and then there's me and the puppy. And I'm like, okay, there's only enough books that I can read or Netflix I can watch. So I was like, it's not for me to do anything. So I ended up registering like 20 different domains. And then I met my co-founder, Chris Nations.
Okay.
Who he runs an advisory firm for capital projects, so they are the owner's rep.
Oh, they are?
For a lot of the major university and athletics projects in the nations, and in the nation in here in the United States. And
so you're saying physical capital projects at these universities?
Yeah, these projects, that range anything from 3 to 6 years, from 300 million to 1 billion in budget. So,
geez.
Yeah, extremely complex with many players involved, architects, engineers, designers, supervisors, project managers, and so on. And they are complex also because of the different funding sources.
Right.
So they're getting funded by the federal, state donations, funds, you name it.
Endowments, whatever.
Correct.
All sorts of, yeah.
And you'll have to be able to track everything and all correctly, because they have to be transparent.
Okay.
So
so again, just so the audience understands. So Chris's role before you met him, what was Chris's role then? He was helping facilitate these for different universities, or what?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's today he's running the company called Nations Group, advisory firm. And,
Nations Group. Okay.
Yeah, and he's my co-founder.
Okay.
And the chairman of the board in the company. But he said it's like he doesn't get it why there's no one single system doing what they do. So these project managers, when they manage these complex construction projects and capital projects, is they have to use several segregated tools, from Excels to Smartsheets. There are Procores and different accounting systems, and they it makes it there's a lot of double entry and that type of challenges, and there's really no reason why. So it doesn't have to be that way.
Okay.
So he asked me, like, can you build a capital project management system for universities. And I told him that's what I do. So it's a SaaS tool that enables an owner university to run their capital projects in one place instead of several isolated tools.
Okay.
And and it's a really interesting story because we get along super well. I didn't used to know anything about construction. And
that's probably a good thing.
yeah, and Chris, on the other hand, he didn't know much about software,
right?
But he knows everything about construction. So we have a really good match. And
where is he based in the States?
Here, Old Town Scottsdale. Yeah,
okay.
That's we work really close to each other.
Got it.
Yeah. So that's how we.
So you guys were just brainstorming on this. And then,
well, I mean, he has 20 years of experience doing that. So that workflow and the different areas and tasks that are required he already have them. We just need to put it in a tool, in a modern tool. And that's another thing, a tool today, when a project manager uses it, has to be intuitive and a modern look and feel, like a friendly UI. And a lot of the tools, professional tools, when it comes to construction or the university world, they are built in the 90s and designed by engineer. So that's sort of how they look like.
So let me interrupt you there because, as a lifelong contractor, I share in your sentiment that, through... I don't so I'm negotiating with Procore, and then I'm dealing with Sage, and then I'm, all these big boys. I'm like, hey, can you just put all this under one bucket? Oh, don't worry. With the open sourcing, you can link it and do all this. Well, like you said, no one wants to do that because it's just added admin time and those kind of things. So as you were having these discussions with Chris, then you basically said, no, I'll figure that out. Is that kind of how it went? I mean... Yeah, with your background?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
And in many ways, we're still figuring it out. So I think, just to put it out there, we have several projects for several major universities in the country.
Okay.
We have about $2 billion in budgets running now today in Privv. But the way I think product market fit is we need to get clients outside of the people we know. So my relationships or his relationships. So I want to see a customer coming out of people we don't know.
Yeah.
And that's sort of where that we're working towards. But so still figuring it out, but it works.
So let's go back because I feel like we're getting a little bit ahead. Is back to Privv. So first of all, what does the name mean?
Oh, it comes, it's an acronym. It comes from plan, review, identify, verify, and what was the last?
You better know it.
The verify and validate.
Validate. Okay, got it.
Yeah, there are so many.
Here I thought it was some sort of cool Finnish acronym, and it's English.
Okay, yeah. Interview me next time, so I'll come up with something.
It's all good. So how long... So just help me with the timeline. Back to concept, when you and Chris first talked, and concept, how long did it take you to come up with a name and figure out the chassis or the backbone of how are you going to develop it? Or was that intuitive to you with all your background from what you had done before?
Yeah, the Privv name was there. It was out there already, and what we did in the first place is just get the domain presence, all the social media websites, the usual stuff. I always like to have them early on rather than wait for something else, because I think what used to be, and I'm thinking 8 years ago when I started the previous, is it used to be engineering, sales, and marketing, and I think today it's marketing. Okay.
You're right. It is.
Yeah. So we are really putting or making sure we do that well while we're bringing a good product to market. Yeah.
There comes a time when dreams become a reality, when you see your vision materialize into a true work of art. And the only way to get there is to choose a general contractor who shares that same vision and knows how to bring it to life. At Bleu, we aren't so big that we've forgotten where we've come from, and we aren't so small that we can't care for your projects regardless of their size. When your vision deserves safety, perfection, timeliness, and expertise in order to become a reality, trust Bleu to get it done right the first time.
Go back to, I think this is a really key point, is you had asked me before we went on air, like what kind of audience watches or listens to Mac and Bleu, thinking that because of the way we started that it was always construction. And yes, we still have a large contingency of construction, but that has expanded quite substantially. With that, if you could, Ville, explain, I kind of brought up the scenario of like we as general contractors and a lot of our trade contractors, we know all the Procores and the Sages and the blah, 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 red teams. I could name 100 names that you would recognize, all the softwares, all based in Palo Alto or San Jose or whatever. But what I don't think a lot of people understand is on the client side, like you said, the user side. So I'll give you an example. In the school space, let's just use Arizona. If there's 30 of us general contractors in the space that know how to use all these different softwares. We have a school client or some sort of private client that comes, and we basically puke on them, right? We throw up and go, well, here, we keep all the stuff. I'll just pick on Procore. We keep it all in Procore. They don't know how to use that. They then they're like, we have to give them logins and give them tutorials of how they can access the owner side of that. One of the things that I want to get out of our discussion today is when you and Chris decided to develop Privv, it was not just the contractor coming to them. It's also, like you're talking about, the universities and these asset managers having a more robust and interactive tool. So am I correct to assume that when you developed Privv, you wanted it almost coming 50-50 instead of what we in our industry had, I would consider almost a 90-10, where we knew how to use the Procores of the world, but the client hardly knew 5 to 10% of it.
Yeah.
Is that a fair assessment?
I think, I think you're absolutely right.
Okay.
So what we want to do is, and you're talking about construction.
Yes.
As a
versus and I know you're getting into capital management, but keep going.
Yes. But like construction is one module of what we do, and we have 9. So we go.
Can you explain the 9 modules, or is it too long?
No. Well, I mean, it's basically 9 different softwares in one. So because we start from
go ahead.
From pre-development. So we go from planning. We have schedules. We manage all procurement. So all bidding, and which comes to managing contractors in one software. We manage people. And people's roles, we can do everything and all, and I could keep going. I think the thing most our clients appreciate, coming to your point, is the dashboard, which is the BI module. So because this is the really great thing.
What does BI? What does BI stand for?
Business intelligence.
I knew it, but I waned so everyone.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So the dashboard in the business. Okay, business intelligence.
Yeah. So that's what they use the most, because a university could have anything between 10 to 30 different projects running at the same time.
Is that pretty typical?
It's typical. Yeah.
They might have let's give some examples. You might, like the athletic complex is completely we're adding on a tennis center over here. Over here we're remodeling the pool.
Yeah.
Over here we're redoing the gym floor and the lighting.
Yeah.
And then over in the dorms we're gutting those completely and remodeling them because they're 30 years old.
30 or 55, which is the average, So most universities were built in the 1960s.
Yeah.
So they are overdue that 55-year mark. But coming to the point. So and by the way, sustainability adds a lot of capital project needs in the future, and because there are new requirements coming out. for that. But yeah, the business intelligence and the dashboard is where majority of the supervisors, and I'm talking about VPs and the directors at universities, spend time to see the different schedules, anything on the red, how the budgets are being used, and of course dependencies. And
so do you think, like, when you developed Privv, was that BI almost the most important piece of the whole deal?
To me, yeah, it didn't used to be there, but yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And that's the nice thing, to have all the data in one place instead of several isolated systems, because we can estimations. Our smart estimation tool basically ties back to the data from the previous projects. So we can give a pretty accurate estimate based on the requirements of the project when you have it in the planning phase. And obviously, you don't set up a project based on that estimate, but when you have a better idea, when you're getting bids in, who's overbidding, underbidding, and so on. So you're smarter that way. But yeah, we tied back to the construction cost index and also the past history data of the projects, and yeah, that's definitely the cool thing.
With everything that's going on in the world right now, Ville, the question I have for you is that when you have gaps in the data, are you now able, through the BI, are you able to use AI to almost fill in the gaps, or is that still a developing technology within your platform?
We haven't done it.
But is it in your mindset, though?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
We have a set of features we are now exploring to use the AI and picking anomalies, like what's that's one. Maybe that could be one. But looking at the project managers, they use 20% of their time on reporting, and even making that more efficient, more accurate. And it's not like they are reinventing the wheel every time. They are the same format, but when we can make it easier for them to fill in the reports, it's just much more efficient and less training overall. So what we've seen with with Chris's company, for example, so instead of hiring a person with 5 years of experience, we actually had a trainee who joined, and he learned to use Privv and manage a capital project in 2 weeks. So then that's just speaks to the intuitive design we have in the tool. And what I mean by that is probably fair if I explain what we mean when we talk about an operational model.
Right.
When it comes to running a capital project, so we've built in different templates, which include different tasks that are required for the project managers to walk through. Whether it's building a campus or an arena or a different budget type. So you don't have to start from scratch learning, okay, this is almost like coming up with your individual way of running a project project. We have a tool that walks you through a process or an operational model.
Yeah, the first thing that I was thinking of, really, is that when I look at all the people that have been on this podcast before, when we've had I'm thinking specifically to facilities management people, which, let's be honest, a lot of the people that you originally targeted. Let's go back to the original target. I know you want to go into a bunch of markets, but if you can break through just in, let's call it the university space, where there's this huge asset management kind of capital projects, whatever, but there's a large facility maintenance background to those kind of large campuses, or any campus, for instance. But I'm thinking back to, okay, we have the entire construction industry, we have the entire facility management industry, we have the capital project industry. I could go on and on. We're all fighting for the same human capital, right? We're looking for engineers, architects, men and women that are trained in what I call the trades.
Yeah.
What I hear you saying is that this individual that you took in 2 weeks basically could do the same thing that person with 5 years experience like someone like me, let's say I'm in, I'd gone to school, came out, had X amount of experience, that would put me in my high 20s, right? Mm-hmm. I'm just using this for argumentative sake. So let's say I'm 28 years old, and you're proving that now with the technology that you're developing, we could take someone without that experience and almost have them at the same acceleration because of this intuitive design. Mm-hmm. That's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
So you're really breaking through here.
Yeah. Staffing shortage is definitely one of the areas that we think we can solve.
Okay.
And I was just looking at the capital project backlog, which is today about $2 trillion in the United States.
$2 trillion?
Yeah, projects that's been just pushed out for a reason or another. But there's a lot of work coming in that field, and yeah, we need people to do it. And let's be fair. I mean, it's not very exciting opportunity for someone who graduates from schools and has to go and work with several old tools and learn how to do double entry. So it's like
single entry alone's bad enough, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you shouldn't be even doing that. But where with the modern technology, we can do integrations with different tools, and we can pull in data, and we can push data and make it a lot smarter. And while we're making it more exciting for people running those projects, and let's face it, more fun. Mm-hmm. Even helping with the attrition, employee happiness, probably less sick days, I think the benefits are. It's hard to put a finger on it. How much efficiency employee happiness brings. Yeah. But I've just seen it brings a lot.
All right, so let me ask you some tough questions because I'm sure the audience would love to know this. All right, Ville, so you create Privv. Who the hell was your first customer, and how did they ever agree to even look at you? Or can't you say that on the air?
I can say it because it's Chris.
Oh, okay.
No, I think
I realized it was Chris, but was there a specific university that signed up? Sorry.
Yes, and I've met several different universities over the last 2 weeks. So I was in California on last Thursday. Florida, we had this morning, and we're just enrolling beta users right now from universities. We know the tool works really, really well for owner's rep.
For the owner's rep, got it.
But we need to add to it so that it works for the owners. And
got it.
We think we have a pretty good idea what they need, but we don't want to build what we want to build. We want to build what they need. So that's...
Well, you're getting back to the intuitive design, right?
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're a hypocrite. Yeah. If you say, well, it's intuitive, and you're over here forcing a square peg in a round hole.
Exactly.
You're just you're a big shitmonger, and you just get it out.
Yeah.
What's so Ville, I realize all this is so fresh and so new, but what has been the feedback, both positive and negative? Are you willing to share some of the stories? Because you're not perfect. I know you'll tell us. And then again, how are you reacting to the design of both good and bad?
Yeah, I think the first question, I think when you see, and a lot of construction people and project management, and so it's like you don't get a lot of hoorays at the meeting, but you can see the eyebrows raised a little bit. So it's typically when we go through our tasks, we go through our scheduling estimations, and the dashboard view is what they really, really, really like and appreciate. But yeah, I mean, there are things that we've just missed, like typical stuff where a person from East Coast University just the other week was that, to be able to go back from this screen, you'll have to log out and log back in. Oh. And I was like, okay, that's just dumb.
That's easy.
Super easy fixes. But mostly what we learn is that all universities manage their projects a little differently. they have different budget codes and different workflows, and there are several different accounting systems, things like that. That just comes up, and that's why we have the team for.
So is that your biggest challenge? Is coding and figure out how to interpret all that and then make that intuitive? Is that kind of your almost like that next generation of Privv? Yeah.
So like I said, it works really well for the owner's rep,
right?
Who doesn't have to worry about, for example, the funding sources.
True.
Because that's being figured out. But the owners, they have different needs, and that's what we are now figuring out. And I really don't want to sell them anything, because we are still learning. So I want to keep my eyes and my opinion open, sort of, for all kinds of feedback. 'Cause if I go there and tell them, okay, this is a perfect tool for you, buy it, I'm limiting my options for honest feedback.
Right.
If that makes sense.
So what if I was to put you in the corner and force you, like, Billy, okay, what do you want Privv to look like? Or you and Chris, what do you guys want Privv to look like in 1 year's time? Let's send it out a year. What could you tell the audience what you think it'll have developed into in another year?
We want to have 6 to 10 beta users actively using it, and I'm talking about the owners.
Got it.
And for many people or startups, working on a B2C software, that sounds like a small number, but universities are bigger, and there are several different users and user roles in one organization. Plus, we're talking about billions, typically billions in capital project budgets per year. So they're huge. But that's what we want.
And are all these beta users in the States? Or are you going to go international as well?
In the States.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Do you have, if it's sustainable and takes off here, is there any application or usage in other countries? I assume there would be.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's similar type of needs.
Okay.
And it could be different type of capital projects too. It's not that we only can tackle university or school type of projects. You can run all kinds of capital projects with that. We just know how the education works.
Yeah.
And that's why we are targeting there. But if there's an owner rep who listens to this, I think, we'd love to enroll them into a beta use and see how they use it. Because there could be a hospital project they use it for. There could be, like we are building a Flagstaff, we're building a terminal station over there
Nice.
and that's a municipality project. So there are other type of things, but they are, longer, somewhere down. So like not even thinking that far yet.
All right, I'm going to mix it up. I'm going to go back to your personal life for a while. You were talking, I think you said something about triathlons and mountain biking and all that stuff. So what are you, like an extreme athlete or something?
Yeah, I guess,
are you just a wannabe?
I
or
guess
somewhere in between?
I'm a retired extreme athlete.
Well, at least you're still alive to talk about it.
No, nowadays, so my kids are 12 and 15, so I love to ride with them, and I coach a high school team.
Mountain biking or road biking?
Mountain biking.
Oh, mountain biking.
Yeah,
okay.
It doesn't get better than that in the valley. So it's I love doing that, and we get to race every other weekend with them and with the team, camping and that kind of stuff. So that's what I do nowadays. But yeah, I used to do triathlons quite a bit.
Any big ones?
I did. I raced half Ironmans.
Yeah.
And I was 2018. I was All-American. So made it to the nationals.
There comes a time when dreams become a reality, when you see your vision materialize into a true work of art. And the only way to get there is to choose a general contractor who shares that same vision and knows how to bring it to life. At Blue Wave, we aren't so big that we've forgotten where we've come from, and we aren't so small that we can't care for your projects regardless of their size. When your vision deserves safety, perfection, timeliness, and expertise in order to become a reality, trust Blue Wave to get it done right the first time.
What's the School of Rock all about?
Oh, School of Rock. Oh, talking about my kids. So
Yeah, talk to me.
Oh yeah. So it's so cool. Where do I start?
Well, what is it? What does it mean? How did it start? What? Yeah.
It's like you've seen the movie, right?
Oh, yeah.
School. Yeah, that's what it's about. So kids coming together and they do a show per season,
Right.
and they pick up a band.
This is the Jack Black one, right? Where he's the teacher.
Yes. But it's not like when I learned to play an instrument, I play guitar. I would had a tutor who would tell me to go do scales and that kind of stuff. Well, they play Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah.
And
Ethan's over there.
and they just now the show they did this weekend actually was modern metal.
Ooh.
So they played In Flames, and they've played Godsmack and Metallica and all kinds of cool stuff, and they don't play at the school. They play at the breweries we have in the valley. So we were on Sunday in Arizona Wilderness.
Yeah.
Wilderness. So that was where the concert was. So that dads can get a beer and the kids will play, and it doesn't get better than that.
That's awesome. Going back, I thought about a question I wanted to ask you, and I think it's wonderful to look through your eyes of what is the difference. Because there's a lot of entrepreneurs that watch this and get inspired by this. What is the difference in starting a company in Europe versus starting in the U.S.? And what are the pros and cons associated with that?
I think, very different. Very different.
I can imagine.
Very different.
But educate, our audience, because a lot of people would be like, well, geez, Ville, was it harder? Was it easier? Like, doing it in Europe first, in a perfect world, did you do it the right way, or would it be easier for an American to go to Europe and start a business? Just talk about it openly.
No, I like that. What I always say, and this is through my lens, right? Yeah. So I feel like in America, when companies want something, they are ready to pay for it.
Okay.
So when you have a budget, you don't. There's not a lot of bargaining that I've seen when it comes to a business decision, where it could take a long time, especially in the Nordics, to get an approval or a budget or start a project. So much more, I want to say, risk-taking ability in this country. Now.
So are you saying like the Nordic countries are a little more risk averse?
Yeah.
Okay.
More careful.
Yeah.
And
which is kind of typical.
And it's I've seen a lot of companies who are planning, coming to the States and setting up over here, and then they start. So it starts with a marketing plan or internationalization plan, and then you list so many risks that you realize that it's not worth it, or it's too scary. Where I feel like, okay, let's just go and do it, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and
do another one.
We lost a year, and so what? So there's another opportunity. So it's a little different attitude.
You got it.
And one weird thing especially in Scandinavia, they take a month off. So the month of July is
everyone goes to Spain.
It's or wherever.
I know.
But
I'm just saying
they don't work. But yeah, you're not wrong. Yeah. You're not wrong.
I remember back when I was a kid and bebopping around Southern Europe, and I'd be like, why are all the women dark haired and dark skinned, and all the guys are all the blonde blue hair?
Yeah. I get that.
Blue eyes, blonde hair. Sorry, I said that wrong. Yeah. I'm like, wow, this is like the intermixing of Europe at its finest.
Oh, yeah.
And vice versa with the boys and girls. But anyway, I digress.
It's so funny when I think back about it. Like before that month, when you're supposed to take off, you start stressing about it because I have to finish all the work so that I don't, because I'm not supposed to work for 4 weeks.
Right.
And okay, the last 2 weeks of the holiday, you're stressing about going back. And so it's like, it just never was really for me. So I've always done the American way, days here and there.
Yeah.
It's better for me.
What else would you like to share about the vision of Privv, with as the audience is watching or looking, as far as either the telling or the asking of kind of where you see this going?
Where I see going is, and yeah, like I said, it's early stages. So we are planning, we're learning a lot, and we're talking to the customers all the time, and we really want to stay close and understand the need. And not just universities, we haven't talked about K-12, but they have the same
Needs,
problem. And there are 130,000 K-12 schools in the United States. So there are many of them, and they don't have a tool. So they are running on pen and paper or Excel sheets. So that's another audience I'm talking to.
Got it.
Right now. So
is it mostly the associations that are reaching out to you versus the individual schools?
No, we talk directly
to
the school district.
Okay,
Typically,
got it.
Yeah, superintendent. We are talking to them directly, and they are taking it very, very well. But yeah, we're talking to major universities and school districts at the moment, and owner reps. So owners reps, we already know we have a tool that works extremely well. So why not?
Little shout out, you were honored as a finalist for the 2023 EY Entrepreneur of the Year.
Yeah.
What was that all about?
Are you talking about the party? Party was great.
No, I don't. Well, you jump right to the party. The audience wants to know like the why and the how.
Yeah.
So what happened? What was the story behind the being with the you get it? Just that's a cool recognition.
It's a really, really, really cool recognition. I'm super proud of it, especially the timing. It's right before my exit from the company, and I was nominated by a company in Orange County.
Really?
And which is where I used to live for the first 5 years in the country, and that's where the company is still headquartered. So and when I moved there, nobody knew about the company, the name, or me, and my plan was to dominate the software market in OC. So with all the public awareness we did in Orange County, so I think maybe that's why.
Oh,
it's a small, very let's say I'm calling it warm environment, community, city, where they also named me the Entrepreneur of the Year 2018 by the Irvine city. So that was also nice. But we did a lot of events there, community outreach. We worked with UCI, and we started a nonprofit to serve the local software businesses. So a lot of local work for the community, and giving back.
Now, you were honest earlier saying that a lot of times your strength is to come in, start it, accelerate it, and then in this case you exited. But I think the audience would love to know, Ville, are they still going strong without you?
Yeah, I'm struggling because I really haven't kept in touch with them too much.
Okay.
So I text here and there, but it's just like, and that's one of the things where you go start growing, you like everything else, you forget everything else. It's almost like, but I believe they're still doing well, and it's a public company.
Oh, it is public. Okay,
it's a public company, and it's the U.S. based arm of a public company. So I believe they're doing well.
Good. All right. So the most obvious question. You started that first deal. Now you're doing the second deal with Privv, or maybe it's third or fourth. Who cares? You probably got a ton of deals. With the way your mind works, What other crazy things are you working on? Or are they all secrets and you can't share?
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, I do have my advisory sort of a side hustle.
Oh, you do? Okay, well, let's talk about your side hustle.
But yeah, it's just, and I don't talk about it.
Okay.
I don't do any marketing or anything about it. But there are a lot of companies who are reaching out and they need help when they are coming to the United States.
Got it.
And it doesn't take a lot of my time there.
Is it mostly SaaS related products or services?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. SaaS either services or products.
Oh, and products as well. Okay.
Yeah. And I don't do a lot of public speaking nowadays, but I do some training when it comes to the cultural differences, especially when your behavior changes. When you go into the meetings, you do your self introduction. That's another major difference, by the way. So in Finland, I would introduce my name and title. Over here, you are expected to tell a little bit about yourself when you go into a meeting, introduce yourself. So that kind of stuff. But it's interesting. I think these type of portfolio careers are becoming more and more of the norm, where you have several things parallel, and they all have a common point where they interact and help each other. So a lot of the connections and relationships I have from different businesses, they just end up working out really well with each other.
Can you take I think the audience would love to know, and I think you did a great job of explaining that kind of in a wrap, but can you give any specific examples about that cultural difference that I think the general audience would like to know? Because here's how I look at there's two parts of this question, Ville. It's like, I want you to give specifics, but I think in the way that we are a global economy right now, it's just that awareness of everyone needs to understand, hey, the American way is not the only way, right? We're a little bit myopic sometimes in the way we think, right? Because we're the Americans. And that's why I'll go one step further. I've always encouraged, because I did it, I was able to be an exchange student, and that changed my life because I lived in Europe a couple different times. And I think it opened my eyes to how you can be a better learner, appreciate things, understand that there's not always just one way to do things. So I'm kind of opening up the platform for you to talk a little bit. What have you seen, or especially now? Can you give any insight or advice to anyone out there?
Yeah, I think the 2020 really changed the global economy, and we saw it really well. A lot of, especially when it comes to software, a lot of the works went remote. Yeah, and it didn't help us to go to the office when the clients were remote. So then you have a lot of small heads on against big heads on the screen. So it's not optimal. So. But the cultural differences, I think 9-to-5 or 8-to-4 is very typical in Northern Europe, and you don't necessarily pick up after that. So, and you can send an email to the CEO of a public company and get an out-of-office reply that I'll come back in 4 weeks of time. So,
which would be here, everyone would go ballistic.
It would never happen.
If you don't get back to me tomorrow, you're losing my business, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So, and one of the things I tell companies who are coming here, that I want you to reply to the U.S. clients in 12 hours, not 24 hours, but in 12 hours. So I think that's sort of. That's very different, and I know it's different to different industries, and I think we have 50 different Americas in America, so there are a lot of different ways of working, but that's how I feel, at least the technology works.
Well, I'm sure you see, and I know this sounds kind of harsh, but there's a lot of reality to this, is here we live to work, and everywhere else you work to live. Have you felt that, and is it hard for you? Like you said, a lifestyle of where you're forced to take a 1-month vacation, and then you get over here and everyone just is workaholics, and you never take enough time off. Yeah. Is it hard to acclimate?
It's never been hard for me. but I've been the same way, and I guess that's the other reason I love living in this country and working in this environment, and yeah, I can honestly say I struggled with that a little bit in over there where not many people work that much or hard. So some people have a work-life balance. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But it's never been a struggle for me. I think I just enjoy the work, and not just the work, but the people I get to work with, and the results you're making. And you say today we interviewed an intern for a marketing position, and my colleague, I don't want to mention the name, but
fine.
Hello, Selena. She said, so are you a dry personality? I was like, we just laugh because it's she didn't mean it that way, but and my humor is kind of dry. Joe, our product manager, he's kind of dry, so she meant it in a good way. Like, will you get along with these guys? But it just came out so funny.
Yeah. What advice would you give to other people about doing a startup, based on what you've done?
I think I want to highlight the role of your mentors. So find good mentors,
okay,
and sign up for mentorships with them, peer groups, and it actually took me a while to find them in the Valley, but there are really good groups in the Valley who'll help you, and where you're located, you'll find peer groups, thirdly, personal brand. And this, I believe, has changed in a few years' time, to where, startup founders, it's not really an option. So your company's marketing is tied to your personal marketing, your personal brand.
Right.
So figure out how the way to do it.
So what on the personal branding, what have you found most beneficial or successful for you? Has it been LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, blah blah blah? Just like, what are some of the different medias that you use that you feel have been effective?
Yeah, LinkedIn is where my network, you could say,
okay,
my relationships is. I use it more than my email, actually, for communicating with people as well.
Really?
That's the easiest way to reach out to me as well. But I decided. Have you read James Clear's book?
Go ahead, keep going.
Atomic Habits.
Yeah.
So
one of the best ones out there. Yeah.
Yeah, a year ago I took my atomic habit of starting posting twice a year.
Yeah. And
so I think if you want to do what I did, I decided 3 things that I post about, and I post on Tuesday and Thursday, unless I'm busy, then I change it. But it really works. Like, when you create that habit, it doesn't matter what you post. You're not so critical for yourself anymore when you create that habit and you do it, and you can, okay, it's done.
Yeah.
And that's where you get your gratification from. But decide what you talk about, just do it, and keep doing it. I think that's the trip.
I just looked. We're almost out of time. So, Ville, is there anything that I didn't ask you that you'd love to either share about yourself or about what you're trying to do with Privv that you'd love the audience to know about? Yeah,
I think overall, reach out to this guy. He's a great interviewer, and he does a tremendous job with the podcast, and I've really enjoyed watching what you do, and you also make a good job bringing up the voices in the Valley. So thank you for that.
Well, good. Well, you keep it going in the Valley too. So keep stirring the pot and get these other startups. And I really, my takeaway with you today was you broke through on what I've been trying to get across in other interviews, and that is the intuitive learning and application. Mm-hmm. And I know the AI gets overused, but if we can finally get to the connection and implementation of the connection on the intuitive base, I look at that. I don't care what industry it is, construction, like you said, you're just tapping into the tip of the spear or the tip of the iceberg. That is the future of a lot of the softwares and the SaaS-based businesses, because people will pay for that handsomely. Because again, we have less human capital, we have to get more out of them, and that double single data entry is killing everyone. I mean, I even look at the other day about, here I am, an old guy, and how much I'm depending on AI, and yet I look at the next levels, which is probably, so I guess what I'm saying is I'm putting myself as a testament out there, going, hold it, I can't even comprehend what probably goes through your brilliant mind as far as how to implementing it, but I know what I want, and I can come and go, Ville, can you create this that connects these 5 dots? And you in your generation and the way that your mind thinks and the people that are in your ecosystem, you guys go, hell yeah, I can do that. That's the future. And we keep doing that, we'll get to a better spot. I mean, granted, it's not all better. With any advancement, there's also repercussions and some negative stuff. But by and large, we're moving the needle, right? Because if you're not changing, you're dying. Yeah. Agreed? Yeah. So make change for the positive sense and go for it. So again, if anyone wants to reach out to Ville, his company name is Privv. It's Privv. Look him up. He does respond, because I got a hold of him. So he's not one of those cold shoulder guys. He'll respond to you, and I'm sure he'd be really happy to engage with anybody based on anything we talked about today. So thank you for coming on, and let's keep it going in the Valley. Okay?
Absolutely.
All right.
My pleasure.
Thanks, Ville.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the Mac and Blue Show, brought to you by Blue Wave General Contracting. Be sure to subscribe to the Mac and Blue podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Follow JJ Levinsky on LinkedIn and Instagram. Tune in every Monday